is basically this bin of paper that's coated with white wax. So when you rub this, the wax actually comes off to reveal the design of the stone beneath.
Is there ink on the back?
There's no ink.
Wow, it looks like a carbon paper.
Yeah, it's like the idea is the same as carbon, but instead of carbon, it's wax, so it's not messy. There you go. You're welcome.
When I was young, I did it.
Yeah. All of it.
How many do you have next?
625.
What's that? It's called Canary Pin. It actually, even though it sort of looks like everything fits together, there are actually several different projects, work from several different projects, and each one of them has a pretty long, complicated history involved with all of them. Each one has a separate, usually, with each project I do, there's usually, aside from the two-dimensional work, there's an additional video and performance and three-dimensional work and several other aspects that go with it. But yeah.
So you document each project, is that correct? Or?
Yeah, and a lot of the drawings I make for each project during the process of while I'm working out the performative intervention aspect of it. But and then most of the projects are pretty site-specific and depending upon what area I'm working on. And that's why I did this piece for the floor. It's just a site-specific piece for the Armory show because it's on the Armory's, on Pier 94, and a lot of the work that I do deals with things to do with waterfront, urban waterfront, urban maritime history and sort of the politics of contemporary scenarios going on within.
So, for example, this piece, what's going on here?
Basically, this is actually. So when I found out I was doing something on Pier 94, I did a lot of research about the pier itself and when it was actually a part of the working waterfront, that doesn't exist anymore. And it tells the story of when this was the part of the Canard cruise ship terminal, and there was a 8-year-old boy that was living in Bermuda and decided to run away from home and stowed away on one of the cruise ships and ended up here at Pier 94. And at the time, it was he actually was the great-great-grandson of Jay Gould, who's sort of one of the robber baron figures in American history. And so he there was kind of a big commotion when he disappeared because people thought he was kidnapped, and so it ended up in the papers when he arrived here on the pier after stowing away on the ship from Bermuda. And he was actually originally from New York, and the reason his parents split up and he ended up in Bermuda. And when he arrived there and found out that they did not celebrate Thanksgiving in Bermuda and that he was going to have to go to school on Thanksgiving Day, he was so upset that he ran away from home, and that's how he ended up here, basically.
So,
yeah.
And what's happening here?
So what I did is I went and I scavenged all this wood from other docks that had been knocked out during the Hurricane Sandy, and rebuilt a dock inside the space. And then I've done projects that have involved grave rubbings before, so I decided to just actually have a gravestone cut to kind of commemorate the history of what happened. And then I sort of thought that because of sort of the nature of art fairs that can be sort of financially exclusive for most people to actually partake in owning a piece of the artwork, I decided to make it sort of exclusive in another nature where it was only people that were willing to take the time to get down on their hands and knees and rub one of these prints was able to actually own them. So they're free, but you have to be willing to do the work. It's the basic gist of it.
Where comes your interest for water from?
I think that I'm kind of interested in basically in the space where water meets land and how and sort of the I guess the kind of environment that creates for sort of transgression, I suppose, to some degree. Which I guess actually, if you look at the definition of transgression, the second definition would sort of be referring to the effect that the tide has on the land. But at any rate, I've always been grew up around the water, and I'm interested in the some of the issues that waterfront communities face now, both by gentrification and global warming and whatnot, and sort of the important role that they play on having those communities as sort of areas of tolerance and autonomy, and how they affect just the general society around them, sort of autonomous spaces. Yeah.
Natalie told me you've been arrested several times.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. I've definitely been arrested a few times while working on projects, and most of them, I don't think that it's always necessarily important that that my work does breach the law, but frequently in the process of making some of my projects it has, and most of the time it hasn't been a problem, but on occasion it has. But yeah, I think probably the most well-known incident was when I built the submarine and used it to attack the Queen Mary II in New York Harbor, and was arrested which was on, I guess, national television, and ended up on the cover of most in a bunch of different newspapers around the world and whatnot. But
could you explain then that you're not a terrorist, but
well, no, I'm definitely not a terrorist, but I mean, at the time when I did that project, it is true that the Queen Mary II was in the top 5 terror targets in the world, I suppose. But I'm not a terrorist, but I suppose to some degree during that project I was questioning the I guess the way that sort of the what's the word I'm looking for? I guess just the sort of the American ideology in relation to their own history, and how the ideology of being the underdog and sort of the freedom fighter that fought against the British with stones and rakes and basically kind of invented the guerrilla warfare that they learned from the Native Americans to defeat the British, and how that was sort of a major part of our pride and identity, and how that identity has shifted into something else where it's where we've kind of become quite the opposite, So I definitely was thinking a lot about that during that particular project, but I don't consider myself a terrorist or an activist of any kind, really, for that matter either. Even though a lot of the projects I do have sort of a political nature to most of them. Yeah.